So I've just watched or listened to the Bashar session, the latest Bashar session called Fantasy versus Reality of Contact. And there are some new revelations and updates and pretty important stuff in this session, actually. I'm going to just walk through it quickly here, the most relevant stuff for people should know. And he is basically saying that first or open contact will start in 2027. So what before he said within the next 5 years, but now he has upgraded it to within 2027, so in the next couple of years basically. And this has a 90% probability, or around almost 90% probability of happening or manifesting within 2027. So we are just a few years away from basically open contact with UFOs stationed around the globe outside of coastal cities. And he hints to the fact that this has to happen at this time in this way. Otherwise humanity would not, it's like a fork in the road for humanity, and otherwise it would be difficult for humanity to continue to evolve. So basically this is needed. It's probably disrupting all sorts of negative agendas from the agents of the collective shadow, trying to pull off these negative things behind the scenes like World War III and these kind of things. I believe that's, I mean, he doesn't say this directly, but he's strongly hinting to the fact that this is extremely necessary at this point. Otherwise humanity could go down a very negative path instead of a positive one. And he says that we will most likely choose the positive path, especially with the ET open contact starting in a couple of years, and they will then gradually, as we acclimatize or become used to their presence, they will start to be more and more involved in everything going on and basically restore the planet in over the next couple of decades. So that will be like a big change with technologies and all sorts of assistance going on every level basically, and so we become like more conscious and more evolved managers of our own planet. Like we have mismanaged the planet for so long that it's in a crucial state now, and we have to, this interference has to happen, and then humanity can evolve into a level where they are able to take care of the planet and basically each other in a way that's much more sustainable and you know, positive and whatnot. So this is what he is saying basically. So obviously the open contact is going to start gradually, like you're going to see these UFOs be like present at all times around the world, and then gradually things are going to evolve or develop starting from that. But there's an interesting contradiction that he makes in this video, Fantasy versus Reality of Contact, because somebody asks him about what the vibration or what level of consciousness or what level of vibration you need to be compatible with this. And he basically says that anyone below 30,000 cycles per second, which is a little bit, or you know, somewhere below 200 on the scale, if you can see, they will not experience open contact because it would be too dangerous. So because you have too much negativity, you can't handle open contact. So anybody significantly below 200, they will not be experiencing this. And that's, you know, a lot of people. So I don't know what will happen with them, but that's even more interesting is that it says that even people who are operating at 40 to 50,000 cycles per second, which is basically the average level, because in another recent session, he said that most people on your planet are actually operating somewhere around 40 to 50,000 cycles per second. And this is like a little bit above 200, like up to 220 or something. And he says that everybody, you know, operate on these levels a little bit above 200 or 40 to 50,000 hertz. They may allow open contact to be relatively distant or remote, even though they may know what is going on. So basically, as it stands now, the majority of people will only be able to experience open contact at something that's relatively distant and remote, even though they may know what's going on. I mean, I can't see how this can make sense. I mean, this is a complete contradiction of everything, because the majority of people are exactly at those levels. They are a little bit above 200. That's the average level, okay? According to my own calibration, and also Bashar confirming it in recent sessions about the number of cycles per second, which corresponds to a little bit above 200. So that means the vast majority of humanity is not really ready for open contact. They will only experience it remote and distant. I mean, what does that even mean? If UFOs are going to be stationed across the world, outside of all major or big cities, basically, then, I mean, the majority of people in these lower levels, or around 200, they will be experienced. They will see the UFOs. They will see everything. So I don't really get what he means and how that's going to play out and work in the next 2 years. I mean, that's not so long, and maybe there is some kind of global miracle that or upgrade of the mass consciousness or something that happens to basically get people into a higher level so they will be able to handle it. I don't know, but he doesn't talk about this. He says basically that you have to operate at least 80 to 100,000 cycles per second, and that's close to 300 and above 300 on the scale. If you're going to interact with the ETs more directly, you have to be at least at 80 to 100,000 hertz, which is around 300, a little bit below, starting a little bit below. So I mean, maybe the majority of people will somehow be upgraded to those level in the next coming 2 years somehow. I don't know, but as it stands now, it seems strange that almost nobody is actually ready for open contact, and they're still gonna sort of just come and suddenly appear out of the blue in the sky like that. I mean, they've always been talking about how they can't impose themselves on a civilization, and they have to, this civilization has to evolve naturally and whatnot. And now they're basically imposing themselves. And this, he actually mentions that usually they have this policy of not imposing. But humanity is at such a crucial stage of their evolution that they have to do it like this. I mean, obviously, things have not gone according to plan A, to put it that way. I mean, we are pretty far from the plan A timeline, because in the same Bashar session where he talked about everything will start to change at the end of 2016, he made tons of different predictions, okay? And one of those predictions was that starting in 2020 throughout the decade into 2030, it would be like a decade of like the space age in the 60s, but everyone would work together and with incredible innovations coming into to help us too, like free energy, and these things would emerge. And it would be like a renaissance, and this renaissance where all of humanity would work together with all these incredible technologies and innovations, this would lead into open contact in the beginning of 2030 to 33. So obviously, this has not manifested at all. I mean, humanity is completely split in two and divided and conflicted and confused in so many ways. And we are definitely not all working together in any capacity. I mean, you look around at the world, it has not manifested. That was probably plan A, like how they wanted it to play out, and then all sorts of stuff happened to disrupt that plan A. And now we are, plan B or C or D or whatever, somewhere far away from plan A. I'm not saying that might not manifest. I mean, the Renaissance and these things can probably still happen, or will probably happen later, like after open contact has been established more, and maybe in the coming decade, like 2030 and on forward, maybe then we will have this kind of Renaissance. But at some point, the majority of people will have to be upgraded to higher levels. I mean, otherwise, I don't see how this can work. And he doesn't talk about how that's going to happen, but he says when open contact has been established, they will be helping and just the fact that we have open contact with ETs and these things will obviously help raise people's level and people's vibration and level of consciousness in different ways. So he talks about that, but he doesn't really go into specifics about how this all is going to play out. It doesn't look, I mean, look at the world right now. It looks kind of insane that we're going to have real open contact in the next 2 years, basically, in 2027. That's really, rushed in a sense. I mean, even 5 years seemed rushed to me. I'm not against it. I'm happy that it's going to happen quick. I mean, why wouldn't I be? But it still feels kind of rushed and quick, like 2 years down the road in this crazy, chaotic world. And that means within the Trump presidency, So, I mean, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Definitely. I mean, he says that actually some of the hybrid kids are already living among humanity, like because they look so much like humans that they basically have been placed around, like outside of doors and of adoption centers and these kind of things, to basically blend in with humanity. So they already have like hybrid kids from that hybrid program he talks about all the time, apparently already living among us. I mean, you can't see the difference. Apparently they look so similar. But so all of these things, I mean, it seems completely insane that this is all going to start in 2 years or something. Like, that's it feels rushed. It feels kind of, like just a Hail Mary. Okay, nothing really worked out. Humanity is obviously not really ready for, I mean, if you look at plan A of a renaissance of everybody working together and like in a harmonious kind of civilization, and none of that is remotely played out. And obviously, it's like do or die. I mean, they have to do this. I think I wouldn't say they're desperate, but this is definitely not something that, that it seems they have to improvise, to see, because things play out and things happen and whatnot. So obviously they have to improvise. I'm not saying, but I mean, how can humanity be ready in 2 years when the vast majority, number one, have no clue about any of this? I mean, most people, if you ask them about ETs, they will look at you like you're crazy, or but Bashar claims that most people, or the majority of people, believe in some kind of ET life. But most are not really aware that, of this whole operation, and that they have been present for so long and doing all these things. I mean, Bashar's following is relatively small. I mean, maybe a couple of 100,000 people or something. I don't know. Judging from his YouTube channel, you have like his highest watched video is like 200,000 views or something. So it's not like a lot of people, like millions and millions of people, know about these things. It's a relatively small group. And you have all these people below 200 who are not ready for it at all, and they still live in the cities. They're still going to see. I mean, I don't understand how this is going to work. I really don't understand it, but it's going to be very interesting to see, because you can't not deliver on this. If they just make up an excuse in 2027 and say, okay, it's been postponed for 3 more years or something, okay, whatever. But if it doesn't happen within the next 5 years, at least within 2030 or 2029, like you said originally, like the next 5 years, if it doesn't happen then, I mean, then it's, for me, it's like, okay, whatever. But it's like, it's just hard to see how can we be ready for. I mean, I barely feel ready myself, and I've had the first contact. Like I went through the eye of the needle, where it helped me, heal the early childhood core traumas from age installed when I was basically 0 years old, like I talk about, and whatnot, right? So I had what you might call first contact, and I mean, the vibration of these people, the level they are functioning at is so high that you feel like a worm in a frying pan when you meet them, or even if that's how I felt. So maybe they will step down their energy or something. I don't know how it's going to work with face-to-face, but obviously the face-to-face contact is not really going to happen in 2027, I think. That's going to be some years down the road after that. It's going to take some time to get used to obviously, massive spaceships suddenly appearing in the sky. That's going to be a pretty big upset and a pretty big, change for most people who have no idea about any of this, which is the vast majority of people. I mean, it's going to be really interesting. I guess that's when we're going to step into, people who are more in the know are going to step into their roles finally to basically guide and help people who have no clue about what's going on. So we're going to be needed, like our service is finally going to be needed, and we're going to finally be the teachers or whatever we came here to be, because a lot of people are a lot more in the know than the vast majority. And, you're going to be needed to explain things and help people, I guess, to assist. But anyway, 2 years, that's not long, and it's just going to be really interesting to see how it all plays out.